I've always loved the ocean, the vastness, the sound of waves crashing against the shore, and the way it makes you feel small yet connected to something greater. But after what happened last summer, I can't even look at a beach without feeling sheer terror. This isn't just a story of a peaceful day turned wrong. It's the reason I'll never go near the water again. It was late August, and I had taken a week off to unwind from the stress of work. I decided to spend the day at Beachside Cove, a secluded spot about an hour's drive from the city. I'd been there a few times before, and it was the perfect place to relax, far from the crowded beaches and noisy tourists. The weather was perfect that day. The sky was clear, the sun was warm, and a gentle breeze carried the salty scent of the ocean. I arrived early in the morning with a book, a blanket, and a cooler filled with snacks. There was no one else around, just me and the rhythmic sound of the waves. I set up my spot near a cluster of rocks that jutted out into the ocean, offering some shade and a bit of privacy. As the day went on, I noticed something strange. The tide was coming in faster than usual, and the waves seemed to be getting larger. But what really caught my attention was the sudden drop in temperature. It felt as though the warmth had been sucked out of the air, replaced by an icy chill that made my skin prickle. I looked around, suddenly aware of how isolated I was. The once inviting beach now felt eerie, almost hostile. I decided to pack up and leave, but as I began gathering my things, I saw something in the water that made me freeze. Just beyond the rocks, there was a figure, a person, or at least I thought it was a person. They were standing in the water waist deep, facing away from the shore. I couldn't see their face, but something about their posture was wrong. They stood too still, too rigid, as if they were waiting for something. I called out to them, but they didn't respond. I yelled louder, thinking maybe they hadn't heard me, but still nothing. My heart started to race. Something was very wrong here. I fumbled with my phone, intending to call for help, but there was no signal. Of course, there wasn't. I was too far from any cell towers, too far from civilization. Desperate, I stepped closer to the water, shouting again. This time, the figure moved, but not in the way I expected. They didn't turn around or walk towards me. Instead, they began to sink. Slowly, as if being pulled down by an unseen force, they disappeared beneath the surface. I ran to the edge of the water, panic overtaking me, and just as I was about to dive in, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The water was calm, too calm. There were no ripples, no disturbances where the figure had just been. It was as if they had never been there at all. My mind raced. Had I imagined it? Was I losing my grip on reality? But then I noticed something even more disturbing. The footprints in the sand, leading from the shore into the water, and stopping abruptly where the figure had vanished. I backed away from the water, my instincts screaming at me to leave, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from the ocean. That's when I saw it. A hand, pale and lifeless, breaking the surface of the water. It reached out, grasping at the air, as if trying to pull itself up. But before I could react, it was joined by another, and then another. Within seconds, the water was filled with hands, all clawing and thrashing, trying to escape from something below. The sight was so horrifying, so utterly unnatural, that I couldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, my mind unable to process what I was seeing. But then, as quickly as it had started, it stopped. The hands disappeared beneath the waves, and the ocean was calm again, eerily calm. I turned and ran. No, I bolted, back to my car, not daring to look back. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. When I finally reached the car, I fumbled with the keys, dropping them twice before I could get the door open. I drove away from that beach as fast as I could, not stopping until I was safely back in the city. I've tried to rationalize what I saw that day. Maybe it was a hallucination, brought on by stress or the heat. Maybe there's a logical explanation that I'm just not seeing. But deep down, I know what I saw was real and it wasn't natural. I've never gone back to Beachside Cove, and I never will. I've heard the stories, the legends of the drowned who never found peace, who haunt the waters, forever trying to escape. But I never believed them until now. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable? Something that still haunts you to this day? Share your story in the comments below, and maybe, just maybe, you're not as alone as you think.